Hello and welcome. I'm Raymond Modulin, aka the Real Estate Monkey. For the last couple of days, we've been talking about debt. And if you've been with us and you've watched the previous video blogs, you can see that we're talking about the different phases of getting out of debt. The first phase we talked about was the realization phase, and that's understanding where you're at. The second phase was the wake-up phase, and that's the stop digging. Hey, I'm in a hole, I need to stop digging. Today, I want to talk about the assessment phase. The assessment phase is, now we've realized that we're standing in a hole, and the most important thing that we need to do when standing in a hole is you stop digging. All right? Now, let's assess where we are in that hole. Is it a small hole? Is it a deep hole? How long is it going to take us to get out of that hole? What do I need to do to get out of that hole? And all of the other onboard stuff that's going to have to be, you get help with. For instance, you've got to have a partner that's on board with you getting out of debt. Now, that sounds funny, but trust me, it's very important, because there's a lot of times when people, just because you've realized, hey, I'm in debt, doesn't mean necessarily that your spouse realizes that they're in debt. And you know the old adage about, here I am working, making money every day, and he or she is out spending it as fast as they can. So what you need to understand is you got to get your partner on board. You got to have children that are on board. You got to have friends that are on board with you. Whoever is going to be involved needs to be on board, okay? Because now we're in the phase of, hey, I've realized I'm in trouble. I know how far I'm in trouble. Now I've got to determine the extent of my problem. So let's do the assessment. Am I $20,000 in debt? Am I $2,000 in debt? What debt is the most important debt? What's bad debt? What's good debt? And there are some good and bad debt, and we'll talk about that in a whole separate section coming up. But we have to assess where we're at, where we're going to need to get out of it. And we have to figure out things like, what's my income? Hey, if I'm $20,000 in debt and I'm only making $2,000 a month, of that 20 grand, I might be spending $2,000 just to live. So we talked about this. Maslow's hierarchy says, hey, I may never get out of debt. I'm not making enough income. So you have to realize that assessing that hole has to be two portions. You've got the portion of, I've got income coming in and I've got outgoing going out. I can either reduce my outgoing or increase my income. Now, I know you guys don't want to hear this, but it may involve you getting a second job. Ooh, well, too bad. You now have got to put the brakes on this monster that you've created. So you may have to go out, get a part-time job, and can take all that money and contribute to getting out of that hole. Maybe your spouse has to take a second job. Maybe you both have to take a second job. So you've got to have to find out how to get out of this hole, and you've got to realize, how much do I need? Am I 20 grand in debt, 40 grand in debt? And then it's a very simple mathematical calculation. I make 4,000, I spend 2,000, that's an extra 2 grand I can put towards my debt. 20 grand in debt. Every 2 months I'm going to put 20,000. So every month I'll put 2,000. And to get out of $20,000 of debt, that's 10 months. Ta-da! It's really easy to mathematically do the assessment. It's the mental part that's hard, okay? So, now that we've realized what the third step was, and that's the assessment phase, I wanted to remind you we've got more phases coming, so stick around, tune back in, and we can follow up how to get out of this debt that we've created. All right? You've been listening to me one more time. So come on back, and I want to remind you, check my website for all kinds of other stuff that's there. Also, don't forget King of the Rehab. It's on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. on Channel 81 on Hoosier TV. Thanks. We'll be right back. Bye.